Hereby called to order. Senator Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will lead the chamber in prayer.
Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Heavenly Father, we come before your holy presence with our hearts filled with gratitude and praises for all the bountiful blessings we receive each and every day. Thank you, Lord, for your continued guidance as we trek the journey of life, as we search for peace. Bless our endeavors with your loving hands. Instill in our hearts the grace to be humble and of service to you and our brethren. Make us obedient to your words when you said, "Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord and not men." Along the road we may encounter challenges and tribulations. Help us not be weary in doing good, for you have promised at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Lord, we commit all our plans to you. Let your will be done. God save the Philippines. Amen.
Thank you, Senator Marcos. Mr. Brandon Chan, bronze medalist for the Vocal Gospel Category World Championship of Performing Arts, will lead us in the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, and after which he'll render a song entitled Dakilang Lahi.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig. Di ka pa sisiil sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw. May dilag ang tula at awit sa paglaya minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwal, hatid pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Dakilang lahi na sa iyong tanging pag-ibig ko walang hanggan. Isinumpa ko, o Pilipino, gagaling ang sugat ng iyong nakaraan. Nagpahiran ko luha ng iyong puso ay natayo muli ang karangalan mo. O ang pag-ibig ko sa'yo walang hanggan. Ikaw ang siyang dalangin ko sa Diyos kailan pa man. Kuminang ng iyong bituin at sumikat ang araw. Ang kalayaan mo'y sinisigaw. Ang bukas ay tanging sa'yo nakalaan. Kayumanggi ang kulay mo, dugo't pawis sinalay mo. Di ka na maapi ngayon at kailanman. Pag-ibig ko sa'yo walang hanggan. Dakilang bayan, kapayapaan, ng nakamtan. tulad nung araw bago inagaw ang kayamanan mo o kalayaan ang bahiran ko luha ng iyong puso ang natayo muli ang karangalan mo o ang pag-ibig ko sa'yo walang hanggan ikaw ang siyang dalangin ko sa Diyos kailan pa man humingang ng iyong bituin at sumikat ng araw ang kalayaan mo't sinisigaw ang bukas ay tanging sa'yo nakalaan kayo manggi ang kulay mo dugo't pawis sinalay mo di ka na maapi ngayon at kailanman pag-ibig ko sa'yo walang hanggan kahit na gano'n kaliit ang tinig ko buong lakas akong magtatanggol sa'yo mabuhay ka ang bukas ay tanging sa'yo nakalaan kayo manggi ang kulay mo ang buhay ko alay sa'yo di ka na maapi ngayon o kailanman pag-ibig ko sa'yo walang hanggan pag-ibig ko sa'yo inang bayan
Thank you very much. Marami pong salamat kay Brandon Chan sa inyong awit, Dakilang Lahi at ang ating pambansang awit. Yes, the Majority Leader.
President, I think Senator
Before that, the Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter Compañero S., Cayetano Pia S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Onasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Po, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Rilon.
16 senators are present. The Chair declares the presence of the quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Poe wants to make a brief manifestation. I move that she be recognized.
Senator Poe is recognized.
Mr. President, this is to express appreciation to our guest artist, Brandon Lee Gonzalez Chan, bronze medalist winner of the World Championships of Performing Arts, WCOPA in the U.S. Brandon is from Pangasinan. The young lad from Rosales is the first Pangasinense to win such honor and is joined today in the session hall by his kababayans and WCOPA Philippines management in the gallery. Mr. Brandon Lee Gonzalez Chan joins the elite roster of Filipino performers who are proud winners of the competition dubbed as the Olympics of the Performing Arts. And I would also like to acknowledge, sir, that the song that he sang after the national anthem, Dakilang Lahi, is an original composition by none other than our esteemed Senator Tito Soto. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, commendations to Brandon and his family and to our good senator composer, the minority leader, Mr. President.
Noted, yes.
Mr. President, before we approve the journal, may we acknowledge officials from Angeles City, Pampanga, headed by Vice Mayor Vicky Cabigting, from Rosales, Pangasinan, officials headed by Mayor Susan Casareno, Vice Mayor and Barangay Captains, and WCOPA National Director Jerry Mercado, and law students of the Philippine Law School. I move for their recognition, Mr. President.
The guests' presence are made of record. The Vice Mayor Vicky Cabigting, Mayor Susan Casareno, and the barangay captains of Rosales, Pangasinan, and Jerry Mercado, the National Director of World Championship of the Performing Arts. The presence are made of record, and welcome to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 9th session of August 12, 2015, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Reading of the journal of the previous session is hereby dispensed with, and the same is hereby approved.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading Senate Bill 2709 under Committee Report 116. This is the bill on survivorship benefits of the spouse of deceased retired members of the OSG, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Senate Journal and record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will do so.
Senate number 2709, an act granting survivorship benefits to the surviving legitimate spouse of a deceased retired member of the Office of Solicitor General.
Mr. President, copies of this measure as approved on second reading were distributed to the members of the Senate last August 12, 2015, complying with the 3-day rule of the Constitution. We are thus ready to approve. On third reading, I ask for a roll call vote.
Secretary will conduct the roll call vote.
Roll call vote. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, Alan, Peter, Compañero S., Cayetano, P.I.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Honasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Smeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Rilon.
17 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. Senate Bill 2709 is hereby approved on third reading.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading Senate Bill 2482 under Committee Report 181. This is the bill on naval architecture.
Consideration, any objection? There being none, consideration of the measure is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Journal and record the whole text thereof.
Secretary is directed to do so.
Senate number 2482, an act to regulate and modernize the practice of naval architecture in the Philippines.
Mr. President, copies of the measure were, as approved on second reading, were distributed to the members of the Senate last August 12, complying with the 3-day rule of the Constitution. We are thus ready to approve. I move for a roll call vote.
The Secretary will do the roll call vote.
Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, Alan, Peter, Compañero S., Cayetano, P.I.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Honasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Rilon.
17 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. Senate Bill 2482 is hereby approved on third reading.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading Senate Bill 2834 under Committee Report 176. This is the bill on Pag-asa modernization.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the measure is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the Journal and record the whole text.
Secretary will do so.
Senate number 2834, an act providing for the modernization of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, Pag-asa, providing funds therefore and for other purposes.
Copies of the measure as approved on second reading were distributed last August 12, complying with the 3-day rule. I move for a roll call vote, Mr. President.
Secretary will do the roll call vote.
Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano, Alan, Peter, Compañero S., Cayetano, P.I.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Honasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Smeña, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Rilon.
16 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate,
Excuse me, Mr. Majority Leader. 17. We changed that with the vote of Senator Villar. 17 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. Senate Bill 28340 by approval third reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the consent of the Senate, I move that we consider on third reading Senate Bill 2762 under Committee Report 140. This is the bill on strategic trade management.
Consideration of the measure is in order.
With the consent of the body, may we request the Secretary to read only the title of the bill without prejudice to inserting into the journal and record the whole text thereof.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
Senate number 2762, an act preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction by managing the trade in strategic goods, the provision of related services, and for other purposes.
Mr. President, copies of this measure as approved on second reading were distributed to the members last August 12, complying with the 3-day rule of the Constitution. We are thus ready to approve the measure on third reading. I move for a roll call vote.
Secretary will conduct a roll call vote.
Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter Compañero S., Cayetano Pia S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Onasan, Lapid, Ligarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Poe, Rector, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Drilon.
17 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention. Senate Bill 2762 is hereby approved third reading.
Mr. President, we've received a letter from the Minority Leader, which is to convey his intention to be a co-author of Senate Bill 2677, entitled An Act Providing Emergency Relief and Protection for Children During Disaster, Calamity, and Other Emergency Situations, with the conformity of the author, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago. I so move.
Approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Messages from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 10 August 2015, it designated Representatives Kimbo, Garin, Hirona, Robredo, Cua, Noel, and Bello III as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Number 5831, entitled An Act Enhancing the Current Tax System by Implementing Measures that Ensure Transparency in the Management and Accounting of Tax Incentives Granted to Government and Non-Government Entities and for Other Purposes, and Senate Number 2669, entitled An Act Instituting a System for Tax Incentives Management and Transparency and for Other Purposes.
Committee on Rules.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 10 August 2015, it adopted Senate Number 2103 as an amendment to House Number 5014, entitled An Act Regulating the Practice of Metallurgical Engineering in the Philippines, repealing for the purpose Presidential Decree Number 1536, otherwise known as the Metallurgical Engineering Law of the Philippines.
To the archives.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 10 August 2015, it concurred with the Senate amendments to House Number 4427, entitled An Act Creating an Additional Legislative District in the Province of Cebu, to be known as the 7th Legislative District.
To the archives.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 10 August 2015, it passed the following House Joint Resolution, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House Number 2592, an act converting the Land Transportation Office Satellite Office as District Office in District 2, Parañaque City, and providing funds therefor. House Number 4404, act establishing a District Office of the Land Transportation Office LTO in the Municipality of Carmona, Province of Cavite, and appropriating funds therefor. And House Number 5825, entitled An Act Establishing a District Office of the Land Transportation Office in the Province of Sarangani, and appropriating funds therefor.
Public Services and Finance.
House Number 5785, entitled An Act Establishing a Comprehensive System for Registration and Licensing of Social Welfare and Development Agencies and Accreditation of Social Welfare and Development Programs and Services, and appropriating funds therefor.
Social Services, Welfare, Rural Development, Ways and Means, Finance.
House Number 5816, an act establishing the final forest land boundary of the province of Siquijor. House Number 5817, an act establishing the final forest land boundary of the province of Agusan del Sur. And House Number 5870, an act establishing the forest land boundary of the province of La Union.
Environment and Natural Resources, Finance.
House Number 5819, anak converting the road stretching from Barangay Anduyan, Municipality of Tubao, Province of La Union to Barangay San Pascua, Municipality of Tuba, Province of Benguet, into a national road and appropriating funds therefore.
Public Works and Finance.
House Number 5845, anak reverting fish funds which have been unutilized are abandoned for a period of 3 years to forest lands, amending for the purpose Section 43 of Presidential Decree Number 705, otherwise known as the Revised Forestry Code of the Philippines.
Environment and Natural Resources.
House Number 5847, an act simplifying the procedure in the disposition of public agricultural lands, amending Section 24 of Commonwealth Act Number 141, otherwise known as the Public Land Act.
Environment and Natural Resources.
House Number 5851, an act upgrading Southern Isabela General Hospital in Santiago City, Province of Isabela, into a tertiary general hospital to be known as the Southern Isabela Medical Center and appropriating funds therefore. And House Number 5852, entitled Act upgrading the Wao District Hospital in Municipality of Wao, Province of Lanao del Sur, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 3607, entitled An Act to provide for the establishment of one general hospital in each of the municipalities of Bayang, Tamparan, and Wao, all in the Province of Lanao del Sur, and to authorize the appropriation of funds therefore.
Health and Demography, Finance.
House Number 5853, an act declaring as agricultural land portions of forest land located in the municipality of Malay, Province of Aklan, amending for the purpose Proclamation Number 1064.
Environment and Natural Resources.
House Number 5855, an act reorganizing and modernizing the National Bureau of Investigation and providing funds therefore.
Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Civil Service, Government Organization, Professional Regulation, Finance.
House Number 5856, an act recognizing the German European School Manila Incorporated as an education institution of international character and providing for mechanisms on the grant of certain prerogatives conducive to its growth. And House Number 5837, entitled An Act recognizing the Canadian American Education Foundation, Inc. as an education institution of international character and providing for a mechanism on the grant of certain prerogatives conducive to its growth.
Education, Arts and Culture.
House Number 5860, an act declaring May 15 of every year special non-working holiday in the entire province of Surigao del Norte to be known as Adlaw ng Probinsya ng Surigao, repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 7553, entitled An Act declaring June 19 of every year as a special non-working holiday in the province of Surigao del Norte to be known as Adlaw ng Surigao del Norte.
Local Government.
House Number 5862, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Juvenal Sanso.
Justice and Human Rights.
House Number 5868, an act establishing a 50-bed capacity district hospital in the city of Imus, Province of Cavite, otherwise known as the Hospital ng Imus, and appropriating funds therefore.
Health and Demography, Finance.
House Number 5872, an act creating a new district engineering office in the 4th Legislative District of the Province of Bukidnon, and appropriating funds therefore.
Public Works, Finance.
House Number 5873, an act changing the name of Juan Lumosad Memorial National High School, Monte Alegre Annex, in Barangay Monte Alegre, Municipality of Aurora, Province of Zamboanga del Sur, to Monte Alegre National High School.
Education, Arts and Culture.
And House Joint Resolution Number 31, Joint Resolution constituting a Congressional Oversight Committee on Socialized and Low-Cost Housing, Loan Restructuring, and Condonation to review the implementation of Republic Act Number 9507, otherwise known as the Socialized and Low-Cost Housing Loan Restructuring and Condonation Act of 2008.
Rules.
Bills on first reading, Senate Number 2899, an act to strengthen the country's gross international reserves, GIR, amending for the purpose sections 32 and 151 of the National Internal Revenue Code as amended, and for the purpose of Senator Sani Angara.
Ways and Means.
Senate Number 2900, an act requiring cosmetic packaging to bear a warning label with respect to certain ingredients, Senator Defensor Santiago.
Trade, Commerce, Entrepreneurship, Health and Demography.
Resolutions, PSR Number 1505, directing the Committee on Ways and Means to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation regarding the Bureau of Internal Revenue's correct inventory of its accounts receivables or delinquent accounts, the accuracy of the details thereof, and to determine the factors affecting its poor performance in collecting additional revenues urgently needed to finance priority social and developmental programs of the government introduced by Senator Sani Angara.
Ways and Means.
PSR Number 1506, directing the Senate Committee committees on environment and natural resources and/or labor, employment, and human resources development to conduct an investigation in aid of legislation into the recent fatal mining accidents and environmental incident and inquire into the safety and environmental conditions at the Semirara coal mine in Semirara Island, Antique, and for other related purposes by Senator Trillanes IV.
Environment and Natural Resources, Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development.
Communications, letters from the BSP, transmitting to the Senate copies of the following certified and authenticated BSP issuances in compliance with Section 15A, our Republic Act Number 7653, the New Central Bank Act, Memorandum Number M 2015-27, dated 22 July 2015, Circular Number CL 2015-46 and 47, dated 24 and 27 July 2015, and Circular Number 884, dated 20 August 2015.
Banks, financial institutions, and currencies.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we recognize Senator Pia Cayetana to speak on a matter of public interest.
Senator Cayetano is recognized.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, the month of August is National Breastfeeding Awareness Month. This year, we celebrate with the theme, Breastfeeding and Work, Let's Make It Work. As such, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege to call for support for women who balance their maternal functions and their careers by combining breastfeeding and their work. Briefly, the benefits of breastfeeding are undeniable. Babies who are exclusively breastfed for 6 months from birth get the best start because they are provided with the perfect nutrition and everything they need for healthy growth and brain development. Breastfeeding also gives babies ample protection against many different infections, diseases, and life-threatening ailments, as well as obesity and non-communicable diseases such as asthma and diabetes. Breastfeeding is also in line with the First 1,000 Days project, which prioritizes the health and nutrition of the mother and the child during and after pregnancy and until the first 2 years of a child's life, which necessarily includes breastfeeding. It is said that the right nutrition during this 1,000-day window can have a profound impact on a child's ability to grow, learn, and rise out of poverty. It can also shape a society's long-term health, stability, and prosperity. Clearly, breastfeeding largely affects an infant's health and development. It is thus necessary to empower working mothers. The top reason for a working mother's absence from work is a sick child at home. This is addressed when a child is healthy and has less illnesses. Breastfed infants have that advantage. The immunity provided by breast milk protects an infant and boosts his or her immunity. Thus, providing a mother with the means and the support needed can truly make a difference for the mother, those at home, and those in the workplace. Mr. President, our exhibit outside features breastfeeding mothers. Most of those featured are our very own Senate employees, including my Chief of Staff, my Deputy Chief of Staff, my personal assistant, and other members of my staff, plus nursing mothers from the other offices of the Senate. I've asked them to be here and to stand to be recognized because they personify the dual role of women in our society and are the epitome of working mothers, mothers who are breastfeeding while working. They're over there. These women have succeeded because the three main factors for successful breastfeeding in the workplace are present: support, space, and time. On support, it is essential that employers, management, superiors, and co-workers exhibit positive attitudes towards pregnancy, motherhood, and breastfeeding, including adherence to policies and laws to support breastfeeding. On space, this includes a clean and safe work environment and private facilities for expressing and storing breast milk. I am happy that we at the Senate have our own breastfeeding rooms for mothers who continue to breastfeed after going back to work. In fact, they are actually made available also to those who visit the Senate. This is in compliance with the Expanded Breastfeeding Act, a law enacted by this chamber to encourage and promote the practice of breastfeeding, as well as provide the support that nursing mothers need during this crucial time in her and her baby's life. on time. This includes not only flexible work hours to breastfeed or to express breast milk, but also adequate maternity leave that enables mothers to spend time with their babies and to support exclusive breastfeeding. Currently, our laws provide for 60 to 78 days of maternity leave, depending on the kind of delivery. This is considerably less than the 14 weeks or 98 days prescribed by the International Labor Organization. In support of this, I have filed the expanded maternity leave bill, which your Senate Committee on Women is currently working on, to provide a sufficient length of time for mothers to regain overall health and fulfill maternal roles before returning to work full-time. Mr. President, as we continue to celebrate National Breastfeeding Awareness Month this August, I am proud of the work environment we have created for nursing mothers. It is my hope that we continue to lead the way as a model for other institutions, both public and private. Thank you.
Mr. President, I move that we refer the speech of Senator Pia Cayetano to the Committee on Health and Women.
So referred.
Coco.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill 4660 under Committee Report 86. This is the bill on judicial leave privileges to judges, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Consideration of the measure is in order.
Mr. President, the parliamentary status is that we are in the period of interpellations. It has moved that we recognize the sponsor, the Chairman of the Committee on Justice, Senator Coco Pimentel.
Senator Pimentel is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have already sponsored the measure. We are ready for interpellation, if there are any.
Well, Mr. President, no one has registered with the Committee on Rules to interpellate. They're already shaking hands there in the back.
All right.
No, we are ready for interpellation, Mr. President.
Yes, but no one has registered to interpellate. So.
All of those knowledgeable about the subject matter are here present to provide support.
Perhaps they are so knowledgeable that all the questions have been answered, Mr. President. So if there are none, then we move to close the period of interpellations, Mr. President.
Just one question. We are putting them at par with the rest of the judiciary. I mean the municipal judges, metropolitan judges, etc.
We are putting them at par with the second-level judges, Mr. President.
To be more precise.
Just to be
yes.
very, very clear.
Yes.
So the first-level judges want to be at par with the second-level judges, as far as leaves are concerned.
All right. There is a motion that the period of interpellation be terminated. Any objection? Hearing none. So closed.
Mr. President, I move that we open the period of amendments.
The period for committee amendments is in order.
The committee report indicates that there are no committee amendments, but I will introduce some individual amendments, Mr. President.
I thus move that we close the period of committee amendments.
So,
And
so closed.
I move that we open the period of individual amendments, Mr.
Period for
President.
individual amendments is in order.
First amendment, Mr. President, that on page 1, section 1, line 1, we insert the title, which is forfeitable leave privilege, with capital F, capital L in leave, and capital P, then period dash at the start of the paragraph. I so move, Mr. President.
Can we repeat the forfeitable?
Forfeitable leave privilege, period dash at the start of the paragraph.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none.
And another amendment, Mr. President, between the words courts,
On what line?
on page 1, section 1, line 3, between the words courts and shall, let us insert the phrase, comma, all known as first-level courts, comma. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Amendment is approved.
on the same page 1, section 1 and line 3, delete the word judicial, which is found after the word days, and change the word judicial to forfeitable. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Still on the same page 1 and section 1, line 7, delete the word judicial after the and change it to forfeitable. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
And finally, to change the title to read as follows: An act providing for 30, open parenthesis 30, close parenthesis, days forfeitable leave privileges annually to all judges of the first level courts. I so move, Mr. President.
To all judges of the first level courts.
Yes, sir.
And I assume the rest of the title will be the rest of the title, starting with Metropolitan Trial Courts down to Sharia Circuit Courts, will be deleted.
Yes, Mr. President. The proposed amendment is to change the title to that simpler title, Mr. President.
All right. So the title will now read: An act providing for 30 days forfeitable leave privileges annually to all judges of the first level courts.
That's correct, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
That would be all, Mr. President. That would be all.
Mr. President, I move that we close the period of individual amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend. 1 minute suspension, Mr. President. 1 minute suspension.
Suspended for 1 minute.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session resumed.
Mr. President, there being no other senators who wish to amend the measure, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Period for amendments terminated.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill 4660 under Committee Report 86.
Any objection? Hearing none. House Bill number 4660 under Committee Report number 86 is hereby approved on second reading.
Mr. President, a number of our members have signified their intention to interpolate Senate Bill 2894. This is the basic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, but most have asked for a little more time to study the measure, although we must recognize that the chairman is here available for interpellations, Mr. President. Yeah.
All right.
There,
Is there no list of senators who wish to take the floor in the next session to avail of the period of interpellation?
I think the Committee on Rules has the list, but there are no dates appended to the list, except for Senator Gingona, I think, who has asked to interpellate on Monday next week, Mr. President.
Noted.
Mr. President, there being no other business to take up, I move that we adjourn session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, August 18th.
Session is adjourned until Tuesday, August 18 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.